Welcome to Bad Dog Agility, a podcast helping you reach all of your dog agility goals. Whether it's competing under the bright lights of the televised finals at Westminster or successfully navigating a homemade course in your own backyard, we'll bring you training tips, interviews, and news about the great sport of dog agility. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
The show starts with your hosts, Jennifer, Esteban, and Sarah.
I'm Esteban.
And I'm Sarah, and this is episode 314. Today's podcast is brought to you by hitaboard.com and the new Teeter Teach It, an easy-to-use tool that controls the amount of tip on your teeter so you can introduce motion to your dog in a gradual way. Go to hitaboard.com for the new Teeter Teach It and other training tools and toys. Use discount code BDA10 to get 10% off your order. That's hitaboard.com. Today, we're talking with Paul Campanella and Tom Bradley about the nonprofit Take the Lead. And for those of you who have listened to our podcast many times before, you may recognize Paul's name as one of the people in charge of Westminster, the Westminster Masters Agility Championship. But he's here to talk to us about another role that he has, which is the current treasurer for this nonprofit. But for those of you interested in Westminster, we will have just a little bit of Westminster news at the end of the podcast as well. And then Tom Bradley is one of the founders of Take the Lead and the current vice president. So let's start out, guys, by just tell us what Take the Lead is. Tell us what your mission is for this nonprofit.
Well, thanks a lot. This is Tom speaking, and we started to Take the Lead in 1993. It was an interesting conception because it actually was begun with a little white lie. There was a young man in the sport who was ill and called me and asked me if I could help pay his health insurance. I asked him how much it was and what was it for. And it turned out that he said, I have AIDS and I can't pay my health insurance. I said, how much is it? And he told me, and I called two more friends. They both said yes. We called him back and said, send us the bill. We will pay your health insurance for a year. 11 months later, he died in a hospital and under very good care. People knew we had done this and suggested that we should start something that would cover the whole fancy. That's hard to do. And I put it off saying that we were weekend friends. We don't know what anybody does Monday through Friday. We only see each other on dog shows and on the weekend. That, of course, as you know, has changed a lot. The dog shows are every day you want to go to one somewhere in this country. So I received a phone call one evening from a young lady who had been pushing this. And she said, I just spoke to Pat Lawrence, and Pat Lawrence says that she will be the vice chairman if you will be the chairman, and we're going to call it Take the Lead. We're going to help people in the sport who have life-threatening and terminal illnesses. I said, this is a lot of pressure. Pat Lawrence was on the board of AKC. She was a teacher full-time. She showed dogs. She bred dogs. She judged dogs. So I thought to myself, well, if Pat can do it, I can do it. So I said yes. The girl then made another call. She called Pat Lawrence, and she said, I just got off the phone with Tom Bradley. He will be the chairman if he will be the vice president. Pat said, blank, blank, blank. Okay, we'll do it. And that was the beginning. There were a group of 9 of us. We had never had anything more than, in those days, probably telephone conversations. We hosted an event at Westchester in September of 1993, and we had never had a meeting. We had a little cocktail party. We could do that much. We raised $35,000 and had our first meeting the next day. Much to our surprise, we thought, I guess I headed the meeting and said, look, if somebody thinks we're serious, and so we've got to get ourselves organized. And in that bunch of 9 people, somebody raised their hand and said, my uncle is an attorney in Delaware. He can get us incorporated. Somebody else said, my cousin's an accountant in Tarrytown. He can get us and he can take care of that. It rolled that quickly. And so we had our $35,000, and we actually had our first case that year. And I think we spent about $6,000 on that particular client. So that just led, like anything else does, to A, more people on your board, and B, more things that you can do. We had clubs around the country were holding events to benefit us, and our funds grew rapidly. I think, speaking of funds, I want to say this. We have never gone outside of the sport to raise funds. We have no federal money, no state money. Everything comes from within the sport or associated to the sport. Certainly, a number of the kennel clubs have been very generous. Certainly, the dog food manufacturers. Certainly, the superintendents. But that's all people within the sport. We at the end of last year, we had distributed close to $8 million in those nearly 30 years. How do you get this money, and what do we do with this money? I think the important thing is that we cover that anyone who participates in AKC events, and what the person does is to qualify, you have to be in the sport for 5 years. You can be in the sport for 5 years in any form. You can be an assistant handler. You can be your own, you show your pet. If you can show you've been involved in the sport to some degree, then you may apply for assistance. It's a very lengthy application. It's about 10 pages long, and it's very personal. We ask for your past tax return. We ask for doctor's letters. We get people who have known you in the sport to prove you're valid. We do that, but we very rarely question anybody who applies for assistance. And what happens has happened in many cases, and unfortunately continues to happen, is that individual A is ill. Let's say they have cancer of some sort, and they have doctor's bills. They may have hospital bills. They have reoccurring bills to assist their chemo or whatever it might be. And they've used their funds. They've gone to their family. They've used the family's funds. They've mortgaged the house. They've done all these things, and then they come to take the lead. We want them to come first to us. And what we do is then the prospective client makes a list of what their most important financial needs are. And it's often the mortgage. It's always second the car. And it continues. We get a variety of almost humorous ones sometimes, which we can say no to. We don't do that. But then the committee, once the application comes in and the documentation comes with it, it goes to the committee of three. Those three people review it and say, okay, we can pay A, we can pay C, we can pay F, but we can't do the other three. That's out of our terms of ability, or financial ability, or even we don't pay for things like that. We don't pay rent to the client's sister because she rents their house. That's family. That's their job, not my job, not our job. So it weeds out pretty quickly. But because AIDS was the impetus, we were known as the AIDS group, and that was a plus. And it was a negative because they don't help me because I've got a broken leg. They don't help me because I was in a car accident. Yes, we do. So we quickly changed it to life-threatening or terminal illnesses.
So, Tom, sorry, I just want to break in here for just a minute and clarify for people. So what it sounds like is that this is really assistance for the humans. It's not like you're there just to help take care of the dogs, but it's like if you are part of the fancy, if you are part of AKC, either through obedience or agility or confirmation, then and something happens so that you are struggling, you, the human, are struggling, that you're there to help the human part of the team. You're there to help financially, the human with their medical bills or mortgage or whatever it is that they're struggling with because of this, big disaster that has happened in their life.
That's exactly correct. You said it much better than I did. I've lived with this too long. I assume that people know that we do not pay veterinarian bills. We can't pay for a C-section. We don't have anything to do with dogs. They're the venue that got you to where you are today as a participant. So along those lines, we have two applications at the moment. The second application is an emergency. What do you do with floods, fires, windstorms, tornadoes, snow, which they live where I live. Then that's a separate application. It's a much easier application. It's about a 2 or 3 page application that comes in again with some documentation, and then that goes to a second committee. And they can pay up to $5,000. And what normally it is in case of floods, fires. We can't build your house. We can't buy you a new car. But we can repair damages. We can buy a new fencing. We can buy dog supplies, crates, rooming tables, things like that. But again, it's all documented. Has to be documented. And this I need to be very clear because I don't think I have been. You submit the bill. The bill gets approved, and we pay the bill. We do not pay the client ever. It's against our tax laws. First of all, we would lose our 501c3s. Certain clarification if we paid individuals, and then that leads to taxes.
Yeah, so that makes it important for people to know enough about just to know that this exists, so that if they are suddenly in a situation that that they can come to you, like you said, come to you first, rather than so that you can actually do something about it, rather than after you've kind of recovered, then looking at talking to you guys, because at that point for you it's too late.
Well, yes, that's right, and it makes it more difficult if you have 10 months mortgage. Because you haven't paid your mortgage in 10 months, don't come to me then. Come to me in this first year when we will pick up your mortgage in the beginning. That allows you to have your own cash, which you would have paid for the mortgage, to do the other basic things that you need in life.
Hi, Sarah. This is Paul, and I just want to chime in here a little bit. Again, thanks for letting us on today. We found that, for the most part, the confirmation community really knew who Take the Lead was. But outside that community, agility, obedience, they didn't. And we wanted to bring some awareness about the organization that this assistance is available to, everyone within the sport of dogs. Like Tom said, a 5-year history within the sport is required. And again, this is completely anonymous. If you submit a request for assistance through Take the Lead, nobody will ever find out about this. So, we want people to come forward before they're in dire financial straits and come to us for assistance.
And we were talking beforehand, and it sounds like it's definitely evolved from, the beginnings, as Tom was saying, $30,000 in their first year, and now having millions of dollars available to help people. And it started out very focused on the idea of a health crisis and has now expanded to include natural disasters, which of course, we see those as being hugely impactful in our sport. I suppose like medical things are very one person specific, but then we will see these, hurricanes come through and you've got an entire, section of the fancy that is getting hit with this all at the same time. And everybody is kind of scrambling, trying to figure out how to help each other and how to, give people places to stay and help with their dogs and things like that. So I think it's really great that y'all have expanded it to include those kinds of emergencies, or like you had mentioned, like car crashes, things like that, things that we just can't plan for very well and can really, really affect a person and what they're able to do.
Absolutely. And that's thanks to the dog community. I mean, this is all funded by the dog fancy itself. We have fundraisers at individual dog shows. We sell some merchandise here and there. And then there's memberships through Take the Lead, where you can buy a membership and you get a pin that shows you're supporting the organization. And this is all funded by people within the dog show community for people within the dog show community.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, because that'll give our listeners kind of two ways to approach this. On the one hand, if you need help, like now about this, and we'll have links on the show notes page for that. But if you like the mission of Take the Lead, if you want to know how you can help, this is a great organization that has a 30-year established history of helping people that you can donate to and be a part of in that way.
Right. That would be great. Our purpose again here today is to just raise awareness within the agility community that this assistance is available for people that may be in need. And we want, spread the word throughout the agility community. If you have somebody that take them aside and say, listen, there's this organization that may be able to help you with A, B, or C, whether you have cancer or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I like pointing out the two-pronged approach there, Sarah, because certainly with the podcast, we can get the word out to the agility community. People who hear it can tell other people. And so this can be on people's minds when things like this happen. But I also like the idea that a lot of our listeners are going to want to contribute, because one of the things about the agility community specifically is they're very, very tight. So when things happen, there are always fundraisers and people who you can get in touch with. But a lot of that, once it moves outside of your immediate circle, you may not know the players involved. People want to help, but they're worried about where the money's going to go. How reliable is GoFundMe, that sort of thing. And I like this idea of having a larger organization where everything is vetted. And I think there are going to be people who are very interested in contributing.
Great. Glad to hear it.
All right. Well, we will be sure to put the links in the show notes for both how to get assistance and how to donate. And then, as promised, actually just this morning, as we are taping this, I got an email in my inbox about next year's Westminster. And this, I had lost track of time. I didn't realize this was going to be the 10th anniversary for us agility people.
Wow.
The 10th Masters Agility Championship. So Paul, why don't you tell us a little bit about the changes for the upcoming year? What's exciting? What's going on with Westminster for 2023?
Sure, we'll do. And I'm as surprised as you are to know that this is 10 years. I can't believe it's gone by that fast. So this year, we're happy to be partnering with the U.S. Tennis Center, the home of the U.S. Open in Flushing Meadows, Queens. It's a great venue. We'll be in the Arthur Ashe Stadium, which actually has a capacity of 23,000 people. I don't know that we'll nearly fill that many, but fingers crossed. But we have the opportunity to have, this larger space. Again, we'll have, 2 preliminary rounds earlier in the day, and we'll go down to 50 dogs. And the agility trial will be held on May 6th, 2023, and will be televised on May 7th, Sunday at noon on the Fox Broadcast Network. As it's our 10th anniversary, we're pleased to bring back our first year's judges, which are Lori Sage and Andrew Dicker. I thought that would be a fun thing to have. They had great chemistry the first year, and we're glad to have them back to celebrate the 10th anniversary. We'll be having some special treats and stuff for the 10-year anniversary for our exhibitors, and we'll let people know about them as soon as those details are finalized. But we're happy to be partnered with the Tennis Center, and I think it's going to be a great venue.
Do you know when the premium is coming out? Because, people have to be on top of their entries for Westminster. Yeah,
absolutely. We're probably looking at February for the premium list to come out, 2023. And we will contact everybody on our mailing list, and they can go to the westminsterkennelclub.org as well to get updates on the premium list.
That is awesome and exciting. So is it okay for me to ask, is it going to be 2 rings again and preliminary, and then you're going to choose one of those rings for the final all in the same place, or is it going to be in
Correct.
2 different places?
It'll all be at the same place. There'll be 1 ring that'll be outside under a large tent, similar to what we had at Lyndhurst. It'll be on turf. And then we'll be in the actual tennis center where they play the men's and women's finals right in that main ring for the finals at night.
Interesting. That is very, very cool. And so if one is covered, then what happens if it's like pouring rain? Because I know that
It's
that's
covered. It's
happened
a
there,
large
right?
tent with sides and everything, so we're good to go. And then
Wow.
the other ring, the preliminary ring, will be in Arthur Ashe Stadium, which we have the opportunity to either leave the ceiling opened or closed, which could be interesting.
Interesting. So spectators then are going to be able to watch both preliminaries and finals?
Correct. Yeah, we'll have two separate tickets once again, like we did back when we were up here in '94. You'll have a daytime ticket and you'll have a nighttime ticket for the finals in Arthur Ashe.
But that it sounds like compared to like Pier 94, that like the capacity is way more in terms of spectators.
Way more. Like
it's not going to sell out.
No, it's not likely to sell out. We should be able to have a great spectator experience, both daytime and nighttime.
Oh, that's exciting because it really is a huge I mean, the spectators are part of what make Westminster. In my opinion, they're so excited. There's so many local people, people show up. They love watching the dogs. They're impressed by everything. It's really a lot of fun having so many spectators there who are not part of the agility community. Like at nationals, we have spectators, but it's basically us spectating ourselves, the competitors spectating themselves. But here, you have true spectators. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's plenty of access from subways and railroad train to directly to the Arthur Ashe. So you're going to get a lot of people coming in for the day from the city. As it is on a Saturday, we're planning on having it as a quote unquote family fun day where we'll have some additional events that we're looking into.
Nice.
So we plan on making it, a fun day for spectators.
Yeah, I think this is a bigger deal than maybe some people are thinking in their head because, okay, maybe you don't fill 23,000 seats the very first year, but the first word that popped up in my mind was cruft.
That's exactly what I thought. Right. I thought this is a step in that direction.
What does this look like 5 years from now, right?
Exactly.
What kind of crowds are you bringing in? What is the impact on your contracts with broadcast networks and things like that, right?
Sure. Yeah. So we're planning on being at the Tennis Center for at least 3 years. We've signed a 3-year contract with them, and
awesome.
We're hoping to make this our permanent home.
Excellent.
That is super exciting.
I love the little tidbit about the judges too. I wouldn't have.
That's really good.
I wouldn't have noticed that. I don't think if you hadn't pointed it out. So I love it.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Paul, for joining us and letting us know about Westminster. And thank you for bringing us Tom. And thank you, Tom, for letting everybody know about this fantastic organization, Take the Lead. And we're really happy to be helping you get the word out in the agility community about what y'all do and how it can help the dog agility community. So thanks, Tom.
Thank you so much. Come see us at the Westminster booth.
Oh, I think that'll happen. I think we'll be there. We'll come say hi.
I have to say, come see us at the Take the Lead booth at Westminster.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much. And that is it for this week's podcast. We'd like to thank our sponsor, hititboard.com. Happy training.
Thank you for listening to Bad Dog Agility. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information, updates, and links to all our socials, just check out our website, www.baddogagility.com. If you haven't already signed up for our email subscription, we would love to have you join the BDA community. Until next time, take care.